what are cryptocurrency exchanges and what's Coinbase? How does it work? Before I'll ask even bigger questions, but it's just a nice kind of palate cleansing question of
Yeah.
what is Coinbase?
Coinbase is a cryptocurrency exchange, brokerage, custodian. Basically, we're the primary financial account for people in the crypto economy, how they buy crypto, how they store it, how they use it increasingly in different ways. We can talk about that. Um, so yeah, we want to be the way that a billion people hopefully access the open financial system globally.
How does it work? What what's cryptocurrency? There's Bitcoin, there's Ethereum. What does it mean to be an exchange? What does it mean to store? What does it mean to transact? What does Coinbase actually do?
Okay, so basically in any given market, there's some people who want to buy, some people who want to sell, and you keep an order book of all those prices, and then if someone's willing to buy for more than the lowest price someone is willing to sell, then you get a trade to execute. That's kind of how an exchange works underneath. And a brokerage is kind of simpler than that. Even you don't have to look at the whole order book and everything, but you just go in there and you say, I want to buy $100 of Bitcoin or whatever cryptocurrency. You get a quote, and if you like it, you can hit accept. And the core things that we do to make all that kind of just work, make it seamless. It sounds simple on the surface. Is we have to do payment integrations, in a variety of places around the world to make it easy for people to get fiat currency into this ecosystem. We have to work on cybersecurity a lot. There's lots of hackers out there trying to break into our systems and steal crypto, or to put stolen credit cards and bank accounts and things like that into these systems. We have to integrate with the blockchains themselves, right? Which are periodically getting updated and having various airdrops and all kinds of things. So we're integrated with lots of different blockchains. And then we have to store the crypto that people buy securely as well. So crypto is kind of like you store the private keys, essentially. And we've invented a lot of cool technology about how to do that securely that helps me sleep at night as one of the largest crypto custodians out there. So those are some of the pieces that had to come together to get that early, simple buy-sell experience to work. And Coinbase actually has a lot of different products now. So we have like an institutional product. We have Coinbase Commerce, which is like merchant payments, like Stripe for crypto. We've got a self-custodial wallet, which we can talk about. There's all kinds of cool applications people are building with Web3, and they can access it through that. We just launched an NFT product. I can go on down the list. So we're sort of like a portfolio of crypto products now. We're big enough where we can do multiple things. But yeah, the core thing we got started with, and still the majority of our revenue today, is people just want to come in and buy and sell some crypto, and we help them do that and make it simple and easy to use.
And I'll ask you about wallet, NFTs, about what is it called? The Stripe type?
Coinbase Commerce.
Coinbase Commerce.
Yeah.
I'll ask you about all that. But order books and exchange, what's the difference between that and stocks, for example, which there's also order books?
Yes, stocks trade through order books too. So do commodities.
So it's all similar type of situation. So when I want to buy one Bitcoin and I see Coinbase say the price of that Bitcoin is say $40,000, and I press buy, what happens?
Okay. So you've gotten a lot, like, when you press the button on your keyboard, like an electrical signal goes up the wire on your keyboard. No, we won't get that low level.
Well, that's also important, the timing, right? Because it's not price fixed.
Yeah, that's true. It's giving you a quote, right? That's there's a whole concept of like slippage, and like by the time the quote is executed, if the price has moved too much, like we may reject it, and there's various things like that. But what's the simple version I can give you? So we'll basically check the order book, give you a quote. It's good for some period of time or for some amount of slippage, and then what's happening is we're initiating a debit to your payment method, whether that's a credit card or a bank account, or you're storing dollars or euros or something on our platform. There's various payment methods, so we're basically debiting that, and then we're crediting you the crypto, and we're taking a fee for it too. So that's fundamentally what's happening underneath.
And then there's some interesting slippage. How do you calculate the how much slippage is allowed? Like how do you know these things? Like, because order books are fascinating. The dynamics of that is pretty interesting.
Yeah,
from the little I know about it.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people like traders who get super into this, and like high frequency traders and arbitrage and all kinds of interesting topics. Flash Boys was like an interesting book on this whole thing. You want like access to information the fastest, sometimes even putting your your thing in the data center right next to the thing. We don't allow that colo stuff because we want it to be more democratized. But basically, you give let's say we wanted to just keep it math simple. We want to charge a 1% fee. So if you're buying $100 of Bitcoin, and we'll charge you $101, we've presented you the amount of Bitcoin you're going to get for the $100. Now, let's say 10 seconds later you hit accept. We go to fill the order. So it's going to be some error bound around that 1% fee, right? And if we think we're actually losing money on the trade, I think we'll often reject it.
So some part of the fee, the slippage is incorporated into that, averaged over a large number of people. I mean, just it's fascinating because like even just like that little detail probably requires a lot of experimentation.
Yeah, and it's kind of like a giant bug bounty out there, because if you get it wrong, there's people who are going to arbitrage that, and we've had people sort of pen test our systems in really creative ways where like they'll just fire like programmatically with APIs, they'll fire off like a million different quotes and look for one of them that's out of bounds, and then actually take that money right there. And we get people doing all kinds of crazy stuff. But
so how do you protect against that? How do you protect? Yeah. So we'll talk about cybersecurity in interesting ways, but there's a lot of clever people trying to do clever things to earn, not even just to break into the system, but to earn an edge of some kind in the system. How do you stay one step ahead?
There's no silver bullet; it's a bunch of lead bullets, right? So it's like, one thing we do is we just have good test suites, right? So you're testing every piece of code that goes out. That's like just common good best practice, but it's particularly important in financial services. Another thing we do is we hire third-party firms to try to audit this stuff and break in. Another one we do is we have a bug bounty program. So we basically pay white hat hackers to find this stuff before the black hats do. And we've paid out lots of good bug bounties. So, try all the above. And occasionally you don't get it right and you lose some money, and then you fix it and you keep going. So, yeah.
Let's talk about cybersecurity a little bit more.
Yeah.
You mentioned using stolen bank accounts.
Yeah.
So that's another one. That's another interesting one. How do you protect against that?
Okay. So fraud prevention, is a big topic. So one of the, there's a lot of things people do, but one of the things they do is that use machine learning, right? So you look at
to protect or to attack?
To protect against it. So what you want to do is kind of build up a labeled data set of all the different people who have turned out to be fraudulent and good actors, and hopefully collect as much data as you can. And then you might feed hundreds or thousands of these factors into your machine learning model, and it'll come back with a risk score. So, an example of like the kinds of factors people create or put in there, obviously I don't want to disclose too many of them because it's a cat and mouse game, but just kind of, I don't know, relatively well-known stuff might be, you have device fingerprints, right? So like, what kind of device are you on and what fonts do you have installed? A lot of people who are farming lots of these accounts, they're using emulators and like virtual machines and stuff. They're not like, an average person on that device. And then you'll see sometimes like, one of my favorite metrics we track for this was called like improbable travel velocity. So we're tracking people's IPs, right? And you might see someone who was one day in Austin, Texas, and then like an hour later they were in London or something. It's like, well, that's very improbable. I mean, sometimes people are using VPNs, so you got to be careful with that because like there's legitimate people who use VPNs too. But if it's not possible for them to have gotten on a plane and gotten there that quickly, then that's usually they're like spoofing a device or IP. Sometimes those are interesting factors. But yeah, if you feed enough of these in, you will. Another fun one is like, real users will type their credit card like one number at a time.
Yeah.
Scammers have a list of them and they'll just paste in a whole number. So you can look at like the number of milliseconds between keystrokes. Like there's all kinds of stuff people have come up with.
And even for travel velocity, you could probably incorporate VPNs too, because there's probably a travel velocity for VPN switching too. That's human-like. Like if you're using legitimately VPN for something else, that might be. There's like legitimate uses too. Actually, I feel embarrassed that I don't know this. Probably should, but the "I'm not a robot"
captcha thing.
capture thing.
Yeah.
So that probably works in the same way.
Yeah.
Like, how do you move your mouse, maybe, or how the dynamics of the clicking?
Totally.
But how does that even work that well then? And why can't it be faked? I need to look into this because it's such a trivial captcha. It feels like it should be very crackable, and yet a lot of high security places use that.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
It's another cat and mouse game. So I think but it's using a lot of similar signals like mouse movements, keystrokes, and then obviously all the stuff that comes over the wire with your browser. So like what operating system, what fonts, what headers are being sent over. And
Yeah.
there's an old website, I can't remember what it's called. It was kind of like Panopticlick or Panopticon or something, but it basically was like a proof of concept site that they would just show you all the data that was kind of getting sent over with your request, and like say that there's only one person in the world who has this exact set of data. It's you. And so it's almost like a clever workaround to track somebody, identify a unique person, even if like there wasn't a cookie involved or something.
Yeah, this is a fascinating world where you can't see anybody. You're in the dark, and yet you have a lot of signal, and you have to figure out who's a real person, who's not, who's a robot, who's not.